This customer has an iPhone 13, the screen died, and they asked for a screen replacement. And they also asked if they can get the screen replacement without that message that says this is not a genuine Apple part. So we said, sure, we can do that too. We don't normally do that because it's unnecessary. It doesn't give you any extra functionality, but we have a new screen here, and we're going to talk about how to use this cool thing here and a little bit of skill to trick this screen into thinking it's an Apple authentic screen. So we're going to take the old chip off here. We're going to solder it to here, and then we're going to solder those connection points to that. First, we take off the screws off the old screen. I don't know, people use fancy tools to open up iPhones, but when the screen's already broken and cracked, just, you can do that. It's fine. And as long as you don't go too deep and break a cable, you're good. This screen has already been repaired, otherwise this screw wouldn't be missing. Don't know how that happened. So the secret is right there. That little guy. That's the chip that tells the screen that it's authentic or not. First, we're gonna go with 400 Celsius and low, very low temperature, very low airflow, and we're going to scrape off this underfill. We'll throw some flux around the outside. It'll seep underneath. We'll heat up the chip, and we'll pop it off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope, not yet. It'll come. It'll come. The solder's about to melt any second now. Any second. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Should have taken more of that underfill off. Darn it. Okay, we're off. We'll put you down there. Next, we will clamp down our chip into the, I don't know, chip holder, whatever. I'm going to clamp it down so we can clean off all this solder and flux, and looks pretty good to me. Looks like nothing got damaged, so looks like we're pretty good. We can clean this off. First, we're going to heat up the soldering iron with a big fat tip. I like to use that. Oh, man. As I was saying, we're going to use the big fat tip. I just like to use that one. So we're going to mix all this leaded, unleaded solder. Mix in some unleaded solder, of course, to lower the melting temperature of what's on there. So we'll get that all mixed up. Good. Then later on we'll put on this thin tips to do the actual soldering to the new, to put the new IC on the new screen. The old IC onto the new screen. Now we remove. Kind of a pain to get all the the underflow, the glue, all that stuff off. So this doesn't look ready yet, so I'm going to go over it a little bit more. So we hit some 99.9% isopropyl, clean it up. You have to make sure I could see each one of those pads nice and clear, nice and shiny. There we go. One was covered with glue. Now you can see it. I think we're pretty uniform. I think we could see all those pins, all those pads. So I think we're ready to go solder it to the new adapter. All right, we have our new pad on the silicone. How do you know that this is the correct orientation? I don't know. I looked it up and someone else on YouTube did it that way. So we're going to throw some flux on here. These adapters come pre-balled, which is really nice. Little balls everywhere. So nice. So we'll get just a little bit of flux over here, and we'll heat up our heat station again and get this going. All right, so we have to be careful here. Let's get the chip upside down. We're going to get the chip going. We're going to wait till we get to 400. It'll be ready by the time I'm there. So we're going to make sure that it is perfectly aligned here. We're going to put some gentle pressure on top, just like that. Make sure it's still aligned after we put some gentle pressure on it. And I think we're ready to go. I'm going to go from far away at first. I know there's not much to preheat on a little piece of material that we're working with. However, I feel that it's still a little safer not to melt any plastic. We'll go from a little distance, get a little closer, and you have to go by feel on this one. When you feel the chip sink down, when you feel the solder underneath melt, it should mean that they all melted together if you're heating uniformly. And let's see if we could see it on camera or not. Let's see. Alright, we're going real close. That was me moving away because it was just too hot for my finger. It was in the wrong spot. I think I felt everything drop there. You probably didn't see it on camera. So I'll leave pressure for a few seconds. See what happens. So I would call it a success, hopefully. Looking at it from a side angle, you can see that there is no gap between the chip and the adapter. Sure, we can clean that off, get a better view. But if the sides melted, since I think I was heating it uniformly, I think all the solder balls underneath should have melted. So let's solder this on to the new screen. Okay, we're back to the phone screen. So there's the screen, there's the pins. Notice how there's the little holes on this adapter. And that's how you can get a nice visualization that the solder has liquefied and melted and stuck to the new pad. So we're going to put a little bit of pressure, put the soldering iron, usually like 1 second is all you need with a nice hot tip, and we'll watch each one solder in place. Okay, so let's add a tiny bit of flux to these solder pads. Let's put the chip back in place, and we're going to hold it in place and start to solder them in. How's that look? Perfect? Looks perfect to me. Start off on this one. Put a little bit of pressure here. We're going to go for 1 Mississippi. Hopefully that's on. 1 Mississippi. Hopefully that's on. We'll get a better picture once we clean these off. 1 Mississippi. 1 Mississippi. 1 Mississippi. 1 Mississippi. So let's see what happens. We clean that off, take a look at it. Let's see if we could see if the solders join these two together. So the trick to these really is just like the iPads. I don't know why Apple uses these standard on iPad charging ports. It's kind of ridiculous. Let's see. Hold on. Let's say 1 Mississippi, and then hold it down. You need to apply pressure as with something like I'm doing with tweezers, and then put pressure with the soldering iron just for 1 second. So let's see if we lift up from the bottom how that looks now. I feel that that other pad now, you could see it's a nice solid connection right here, and we're good to go. So let's pop this screen into the phone and see if it works and doesn't give us that message about a non-genuine display. Before we do all that, we can't forget to delicately heat up this Face ID and proximity sensor that doesn't come with new screens. So we heat this up to 80, 90 Celsius, the whole screen, and we carefully, slowly get this up so we can put it onto the new screen. Now that we're back to the phone, we're going to put the, I believe it's the Face ID and proximity sensor back on. There's a good amount of glue that was on there before, so we'll make sure that that sits flat on here. Make sure that all sits flat. We're going to reinstall the bracket. So what I like to do is we're not going to put any of the plates back on to screw everything down, because if it doesn't work properly, it's more work to take it off. So the phone was on, there was no way to shut it off, so we're going to do a hard reset here. Power up, power down, hold the button for about 10 seconds or so. The white Apple logo should appear. We'll log in and check it out. Boom. And we're done.